can tell when you know people, when you can read people well and you just know people's nature? The simple way you can tell when you have an above average ability to read people, know people, is when you can predict a lot of stuff they're going to do and say before they do it or say it. You can predict what people are going to do or say before they do it or say it. That's when you know you have at least an above average ability to read people. And after my last video, I knew I was going to have at least a small percentage of guys that were going to write me and say something to the effect of, "Hey, Alan, it sounds like you're condemning the notion of pumping and dumping women sexually, but isn't that representative of you being contradictory and hypocritical, given the nature of a lot of your videos and a lot of your books, specifically your Mole 1 Hardcore book, which is all about the pursuit of short-term, non-monogamous casual sex? Doesn't that make you look like a hypocrite for you to be condemning the idea of pumping and dumping women?" Bless your hearts. Bless your hearts. Insert dog face here. Come on, fellas. Yep. I didn't get many, but I got at least, I don't know, a dozen either email messages, Facebook inbox messages from guys saying, "Alan, I'm kind of confused after watching your last video. It seems like in your last video, you were saying that you're now all about encouraging men to engage in long-term relationships and encouraging men to potentially get married. And it seems like you're trying to move away from the idea of pursuing women just for like one-night stands, weekend flings, and other variations of short-term non-monogamous casual sex. But you built most of your career on encouraging men to pursue women strictly for casual sex. So what's with this change of heart? Is it because you got a new girlfriend? What? You become religious all of a sudden? Like what's the guy's name who became religious recently? The guy who wrote, Rouge V. Yeah, somebody said, you trying to be like Rouge V or something? This is why you got to carefully listen. See, some of y'all like to talk, but y'all don't like to listen. You got to carefully listen. Now, of course, the majority of people who watch that video are guys who are intelligent, perceptive, and they're careful listeners. So they didn't write me notes like this. So the fact that anybody who wrote me a note of this nature lets me know you didn't carefully listen. Let me make it, I'm all about KISS. Keep it straightforward and simplistic, otherwise known as keep it simple, stupid. I am not anti-casual sex. Never have been, never will be. I am not anti-casual sex, or what some people call pumping and dumping. Here's what I am against, and if you've been following me for years, you know I'm against this. I am against vehemently, not just against, but I would say vehemently against. I'm against the notion or concept of lying to women and misleading and manipulating women in order to motivate them to agree to have casual sex with you. That is what I am against. That is what I am against. So no, I am not against the pursuit of one or more episodes of short-term, non-monogamous casual sex with women. But I am very much against the idea of you lying to a woman in order to get her to agree to have casual sex with her, or misleading and manipulating a woman in order to get her to agree to have casual sex with, or just generally toying with her emotions in order to get her to agree to have casual sex with you. If you're in favor of one of those three things, I don't like you. I think you're a bitch. Is that emphatic enough? I think you're a bitch. You're a coward. And I'll tell you to your face. Like I have some of my close friends and frat brothers. You're a bitch. You're a coward. That's what you are. If you got to resort to lying to women to get them in bed, misleading and manipulating women to get them in bed for casual sex, or just generally toying with emotions, I have no respect for you. I have no respect for you. In my mind, you're a verbal coward. You're a bitch-ass motherfucker. Period. End of story. If you know my backstory, that was one of the top two things that led to the formation of my Mode 1 approach philosophy. There's two major things. Really, I would say there was a few things that contributed to the formation of my Mode 1 approach, but mainly it came down to really two main things that contributed to it. First, as most people know, was when I saw these adult porn movies featuring this actor named John Leslie as the womanizing alpha male named Jack in the movie Talk Dirty to Me and Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. That was my first impetus or inspiration for what would later become my Mode 1 approach, was watching those two movies. And that's when I first, as I mentioned in my Patreon exclusive video yesterday or 2 days ago, that's when I first realized that women were sexually duplicitous. That's when two things I realized from those two movies. That's when I first realized the effectiveness of having a great mouthpiece and verbal seduction skills and mastering the art of erotic dirty talk, which is what the character of Jack was a master of. He was a master at verbal seduction and hot, kinky, erotic dirty talk with women. People call me the king of verbal seduction, which is my most well-known nickname. But if I'm being honest and deferential, truthfully, John Leslie, in his portrayal of Jack, was the true king of verbal seduction. He was a bad. When it came to having a mouthpiece, John Leslie, matter of fact, within the porn industry, that's actually what he was known for. I was reading comments over the years about John Leslie from some of his porn industry colleagues. And the two things everybody gave him a compliment in who worked in the porn industry, they said John Leslie was arguably the best true actor of any porn actor. He had true acting skills. They said he could have made it in mainstream acting because his acting was so good. Secondly, they said he had probably the best mouthpiece of any male porn actor. He had the best mouthpiece, smooth, seductive mouthpiece. So that, and the second thing I learned from watching Talk Dirty to Me 1 and Talk Dirty to Me Part 2 was that's when I first realized the concept of sexual duplicity. Sexual duplicity. Even though technically, and I always point this out, technically I kind of began to know about sexual duplicity my senior year in high school. During the 1980-81 school year, which was my senior in high school. Because that was the first time I had not only women just throwing me pussy left and right, but more specifically, I had a lot of women who had boyfriends who was throwing me pussy left and right. And that like blew my mind. Yeah, so technically, when I first realized the concept of sexual duplicity was my senior in high school. Because I had a lot of girls who had long-term boyfriends that would be throwing me to pussy, sometimes in their boyfriend's face. And I've pointed that out before. I used to have women that would flirt with me, and their boyfriend would be like 2 feet away, 3 feet away, 5 feet away. Oh, man. Yeah, man. Women used to throw pussy at me like a motherfucker, dude. Even, sadly, the girlfriends of some of my own friends would throw pussy at me my senior in high school. And then it was the summer after my senior in high school. That's when I first saw Talk Dirty to Me Part 1. And then it was, I think, September or October of 1983 was when I saw Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. And then the second factor, if you remember, that contributed to my formation of the Mode 1 approach was when I had a conversation with these 3 black women that were members of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, a well-known black sorority. and they were asking me, why do men, which included a lot of my fraternity brothers, they said, why do men lie to women and mislead women into believing they want a long-term, emotionally profound, strictly monogamous boyfriend-girlfriend relationship when they really just want casual sex? And I said, simple. They don't have the balls. They scared of rejection. And that's true to this day. Because if you remember the most memorable quote I remember those women saying to me is they said, men need to be honest, because they said, we know the men we want to fuck just to be fucking. I never forget that. They said, we know the men we want to fuck just to be fucking. All women are like that. All women are like that. A lot of men don't realize that, or they realize it and don't want to accept that. Women know the men that they want to have a one-night stand with, or weekend fling with, or some other variation of fuck buddy sex. Women know the men that they just want as a fuck buddy. This goes back to my video where I talk about the 4 roles. I'll put it in the comment section. One of my most popular videos that I did just earlier this year, where I said, you're always going to be in one of these 4 roles in the eyes of a woman. You're going to be in the role of casual fuck buddy, boyfriend / future husband, pay for play, which would include tricks, sugar daddies, and other guys who have to spend a significant amount of money on a woman in exchange for a sexual companionship, and then purely platonic friend, play brother, purely platonic friend. Those are 4 roles that women are going to always put you in within the first few minutes after they meet you. They're going to put you in one of those 4 roles. You're either going to, in their eyes, and when I went to Los Angeles in November of 2018, these women I had conversations with confirmed that. You're going to always be in one of those 4 roles of women. You're either going to be in a role of casual fuck buddy, long-term boyfriend / future husband, pay for play, or purely platonic friend. And that's why women don't like, that's why women, generally speaking, don't like men lying to them and misleading them. Because, for example, if a woman has you in long-term boyfriend role, future husband role, she doesn't want you pretending like you're in that role when you really want to be in the fuck buddy role. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want you pretending like you're in the purely platonic friend role when you really want to be in the long-term boyfriend, future husband role. Women don't like that. I wouldn't just say women don't like that. Men don't like it either. We don't like women misleading us. We don't want a woman to mislead us into believing that we're in the fuck buddy role when we're really in the platonic friend role. Or that we're in the long-term boyfriend / future husband role when we're really in the pay-for-play role. We don't want women lying to us and misleading us. So what would make you think women want you to lie to them and mislead them? Here's the thing, man. And I said this in the comment section of my last video. There is nothing wrong with using people. A lot of people, when you hear the term using people, you automatically attach negative connotations to that. Negative connotation. There's nothing wrong with using people. There is nothing wrong. I remember when I pursued an acting career in the late 80s, I had a talent agent who shared that piece of wisdom with me. Because I was actually, I think, complaining about somebody who I felt had used me for something. A job, I think. And my talent agent told me, he said, ain't nothing wrong with using people. He said, people use people every day, every week, every month of the year. He said, there's nothing wrong with people using somebody as long as you make it clear that that's what you're doing. He said, the only time it's wrong to use people is when you're trying to hide the fact that you're using them. That's when it's unethical to use people, is when you're trying to hide the fact that you're using them. He said, but when you're using somebody and you're making it clearly, openly known that you're using them, that you're interacting with them for a specific objective, a specific purpose, he said, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing for you to feel guilty about or shameful about. And I agree with that. There's nothing wrong with only interacting with someone for a specific designated purpose or objective if you're upfront, specific, and straightforward about that shit. The problem is when you do one of two things with using people. Here's the problem with using people. Is when you have a specific objective in mind for why you want to interact with someone, but you're giving them the misleading impression that you want a genuine friendship with them or something really long-lasting and meaningful and emotionally profound. Is when you're giving them the misleading impression that you want a genuine friendship with them or that you want something that's long-lasting, meaningful, and emotionally profound. That's when it's wrong. Like, that relates to my video I did earlier this year called Business 101, Never Mix Friendship with Business and Financial Objectives. I did a video that said, never mix friendship with business. I said openly, man, I try, and I made a mistake here and there, but I try never to mix friendship with the interaction that centers around business and financial objectives. Because when it comes to business and financial objectives, I don't trust nobody. I said that on that video. I don't trust nobody. If I know that there's business objectives involved, financial objectives involved, but at the same time that person's trying to act like they just trying to be cool with me and trying to be my friend, nigga, I don't trust your ass. I'll pretend like I do. I'll play the dumb role. But I don't trust your ass. I don't trust nobody as a true, genuine friend if I know that there's business objectives involved and financial objectives involved. I don't trust nobody. That includes family members. You could be my first and second cousin. If there's business objectives involved, financial objectives involved, I don't trust nobody 100%. I might trust you 40%, I might trust you 50%, but 100%, I don't trust nobody. I don't trust nobody who's presenting themselves as my new friend or my good friend, but I know that there's business objectives involved and financial objectives involved. Don't do it. And I would advise you not to. That's how you get fucked over, unless you got heavy-duty contracts in place. That's why I don't believe in verbal contracts. A lot of people operate business on verbal contracts. I believe in written contracts. Written contracts. Because you can't take anybody to court for a verbal contract. You can take people to court when they violate a written contract. Second time it's bad to use people is when you're giving people the misleading impression that you have either more to offer them than you really do, or you want more from them than you really do, but really you just want really one thing from them. You just really want one thing from them. Sticking specifically to dating and relationships, well, obvious of using a woman is if you give a woman the impression you want a long-term sexual relationship when you really want a short-term sexual relationship. You really just want to have sex with that woman for a few days, a few weeks, maybe 2 or 3 months, but you're giving them the impression you want a long-lasting, indefinite sexual relationship. That's using a woman in a dishonest, misleading, and manipulative manner. Secondly, when you're giving a woman the misleading impression that you're sharing her company because you enjoy both her sexual attention and companionship and her non-sexual attention and companionship, when in actuality, you really just want to share her company for the purpose of her sexual companionship. That means you're using that woman in a dishonest, misleading, and manipulative manner. And I'm not just saying, for fairness purposes, I want to also point out, like I always do, it's not just men who do that with women. Women do that with men. There are women who will give you the impression they want to share your company for the sake of both your sexual and your non-sexual companionship when they really just want access to your non-sexual companionship, or they really will just want access to your financial resources or material possessions. So I'm not trying to suggest that men are the only ones who use women. Women use the fuck out of men too. And what is the answer? What is the number one way to prevent that? Mode 1. For both genders. Mode 1. Mode 1 is your best bet for preventing people from using you. When you use vague and ambiguous language with the opposite sex, you're going to set yourself up for people to manipulate you and fuck over you. I don't have no problem with casual sex. As long as you got the balls to be upfront, specific, and straightforward with your desire and interest in short-term, non-monogamous casual sex. Get them balls up, baby. Moan one, baby. Make it happen. No Patreon exclusive portion today, but I will have a Patreon exclusive live stream tomorrow at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern.